Okay, let's talk about the dissertation. You know, that one final massive project that kind of stands between you and walking across that graduation stage. It's the big one. And yeah, let's be real for a second. Staring up at it from the very beginning, it can feel absolutely overwhelming. That feeling of stress, that anxiety, that, oh my gosh, where do I even start? Trust me, that is completely 100% normal. But what if we just looked at it differently? Let's reframe it. This isn't some big, scary monster you have to fight. Think of it more like a mountain. Yeah, it's a huge challenge, for sure, but it's something solid, something you can actually climb. And you know the best way to climb any mountain? You need a good map. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to turn all that fear and uncertainty into a clear, step-by-step plan that's going to get you right to the very top. All right, so every big journey starts at base camp. Before we even think about the climb, we need to understand what we're up against. So first things first, what is a dissertation, really? So here's the official take. At its heart, it's a really long research project. But look at the important part here. It's all about demonstrating that you can work on your own and, crucially, that you can contribute something brand new to your field. It's not just the final exam. It's really the first step in your professional career. Okay, so we know what we're facing. Now it's time to actually plan the route. You would never just start walking up a mountain without a map, right? Well, same goes for your dissertation. Let's move on to section 2, charting your course. So your first moves on this trail really boil down to two big things. First, you've got to pick your path, and that's all about topic selection. It has to be something you actually care about, but it also needs to be super specific and focused. Then you actually draw the map. That's your proposal. A really solid proposal is basically the blueprint for your entire journey. All right, our map is drawn, our gear is packed. Now comes the biggest part of the whole journey, the research ascent. This is where you do the real work, the actual climbing and discovering. And here you can see the whole climb laid out from start to finish. We've already talked about picking a topic and writing the proposal. Next up are the really critical stages. Designing your research is like being an architect for your project, making sure it's built to last. Then you've got data collection. That's the real legwork of the climb. After that, data analysis. This is where you start to see the story in all the information you've gathered. And then finally, you hit the peak, drawing your conclusions. You can see how one step just naturally leads to the next. Okay, you did it. You made the ascent, you've seen the view from the top. But the journey's not over until you tell everyone what you saw. Now it's time to turn all that incredible work into an actual written document. The best way to think about your written dissertation is like you're telling the story of your climb. Your introduction? Well, that sets the scene. Why is this mountain even important? The literature review is where you talk about all the other climbers who came before you. And the methodology? That's your how-to guide. It explains the exact tools and techniques you use to make it to the top. Now, this next part is where a lot of people get tripped up. What's the difference between the results and the discussion? It's actually pretty simple. Think of it like this. The results section is the what. It's just the facts, the objective data you found. The discussion, though, that's the so what. That's where you get to interpret everything and explain what it all actually means. And finally, you bring the whole thing home. The conclusion wraps up your main findings. The references section gives a shout out to all the sources and guides that helped you along the way. And the appendices, think of them like the photo album from your trip, all the extra stuff and raw data that backs up your amazing story. So you've done the research, you've written the story, you are basically standing on the summit. The very last thing to do is plant that flag so everyone knows what you've accomplished. It's time for the final touches. These little things are what give your work that professional shine. The title page is like the big announcement. The abstract is your quick summary, like the blurb on the back of a book. And the table of contents, that's the roadmap for anyone who wants to follow in your footsteps. You know, when you really think about it, this whole thing is so much more than just a final paper for a grade. Finishing a dissertation proves you can handle a huge, complicated project from beginning to end. It's the ultimate stepping stone from being a student to becoming an expert in your field. So, you've reached the summit. You've proven to everyone, and more importantly to yourself, that you can do it. So as you're standing up there looking out at everything, there's really only one question left to ask. What mountain are you going to climb next?